Okay, guys, we are going live, and I'm now going to go ahead and start sharing it on your pages as soon as that hits. Hello, Facebook world. I suspect you're now seeing us, and we are live. Ken Wimberly here with me as well.
Hey.
Mr. Wimberly, I'm going to share this on your page. Guys, why don't you introduce yourself while I'm doing this so you can tell the crazy Facebook world out there exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. Ken Wimberly, Fort Worth TX, ready to get crazy.
Yeah, get crazy doing what, Mr. Wimberly?
Well, my friend Eliud sent me a text a couple of weeks ago and says, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this 24-hour walk." I said, "Okay, I'm intrigued." He said, "I'll get back to you with more details." And then last Sunday, he sends me a text. He said it's based on this challenge by Tom Shea, a Navy SEAL, and he sent me a link, and I watched the link, and I immediately responded back, "I'm in. When are we doing it?"
Of course you did.
Yeah,
of course you did.
Of course.
And next up in our panel, sir, go ahead.
My name is Eliud and Gabriel from Coppell, Texas, and yeah, we're looking to do something different. And my wife actually had been reading the Unbreakable book from Tom Shea, and she mentioned that she was writing that book for his children, and mentioning there that they should walk for 24 hours straight. And when she said that, something kind of kicked in there, and it's like, whoa, what is that? And so as I read the book, and now that I say, why not? So I reached out to Ken, he's in, and I'm in, and we're excited, and we're doing it next week, and we're just still trying to put the pieces together.
Well, fortunately, Charlie Engel's just joined us on the call. For some ridiculous reason, you two were able to find two guys who do things that cause sleep zombies, and you know, the normal human reaction would be, that's a really dumb idea. It's not a great idea. I'm just saying, boys. Hey, Charlie, how are you?
Oh, it's a dumb idea. No doubt.
Yeah, that's why I raised my hand. It sounded like a good dumb idea. So let's do it.
It's the only idea worth doing. I've never.
The first two people I would be offended.
Yeah, I would be offended if somebody said the things I did was smart. Actually, that would be. Why would I want to be boring? So.
Amen. So Charlie, welcome. We're broadcasting live on Facebook right now on about 4 channels. Tell us. I'm very curious. You get a message from Ken Wimberly, and he says what exactly?
All I got really out of it, as much as anything, was 24. He wants to hike for 24 hours straight, and that maybe I would have some tips or thoughts, or what I really, it's always when I get an email like that or a message like that, my inclination, of course, is to opt for just being a smart ass completely. And but I mean, I'm incredibly in support of anybody that wants to test their limits, and I do think that this is the perfect kind of thing for what we're all going through right now, to allow for some focused, like, meditation, and doing something that, what a gift to be able to take yourself out of the chaos and craziness for 24 hours of kind of just personal hard work.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's kind of interesting that we both are experienced in this. But Charlie, so I want to hear for a second, then we're going to give you guys really bad advice how to do this, and tell you, more importantly, some of the stupid crap that you might want to consider not doing. But Charlie, so you've got 5.8 going on right now, which I really wish I never would have read because it's so outrageous. I'm like, God, I want to do it.
Wow.
I want to join them. I'm all in. And then a little bit about your crazy escapades and your exceptional ultra running.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Jason, be careful what you ask for, right? Because, you know, I mean, I've got 6 more expeditions to go in the 5.8 series. And I had, you know, I had 10 people join me at one time or another during my 2,500 mile journey across Africa last year. And so once the world kind of opens back up again and I'm able to go do these expeditions, you know, the door is open for a few select people to join here and there. So let's definitely revisit that. But for those that don't know, the expedition is 5.8 expedition series is going to take me from the lowest elevation to the highest on all 7 continents. And the first one that I did in Africa went from the lowest point, which is in Djibouti, all the way to the top of Kilimanjaro, about 2,500 miles away. The ultimate expedition in this series will be in Asia, which actually includes both the lowest and highest points in the world. The Dead Sea, and about 4,500 miles away is Mount Everest. So this expedition series it's all, you know, I have a production company, so I'm filming everything. And our current quarantine is the only good silver lining for me is that it's given me lots of time and no excuses not to be editing. So I've been going through footage and doing some of the things that I really struggle getting completed. But you know, the whole idea, and it's what we're going through now on the planet, you know, and of course this idea is 10 years old, so it's not like it came about because of coronavirus, but you know, all of us spend our lives basically struggling from, you know, low places in our lives to try to crawl up from that to high points. And I decided to put a literal spin on it and say that I wanted to go from the literal lowest place on each continent to the highest point on each of those continents. And
wow.
You know, it's basically a series of cultural exploration. It's a physical undertaking, but it's much more about seeing the world, experiencing other places, and, you know, and trying to learn more about this planet where I live, where we all live.
I love it. I love it. Well, I've been to the top of Aconcagua and I've been to the top of Kili, and I can tell you the idea of starting 2,500 miles away, that is incredibly not appealing at all whatsoever. At all.
Yeah. Yeah. You say that now. You say that now. You would, I can already tell you would when you wrap your mind around the, you know, like in Africa, I didn't just run, I cycled also. So I was able to cover, you know, 2,400 miles in, you know, 20 days, basically, something like that. So I was, you know, I was probably running close to a marathon every day and then cycling the rest. And it was very hot, 150-degree ground temperatures. You know, it was difficult. It was difficult for a lot of reasons, but you know, you would, I know what you do. You would dig it, you know, it would, I mean, it's hard, but that's kind of the point. Just like what these guys are going to do.
That's right.
Jason,
you know?
I know you just found his website when I gave it to you earlier. Spend some time on his blog. It's a Charlie's actually quite a good writer, and he does a fascinating job describing all the little details of his adventures.
And again, Google Charlie Engel, Engel, look for 5.8, look up the blog, and, you know, it's kind of a good transition. So no offense to the clowns of the world, but for some reason, Charlie, these clowns feel like they, like with 2 weeks notice, want to go be on their feet 24 hours. And of course, Ken decided, hey man, I got a great idea. Let's stop every hour and do 42 push-ups, because, you know, it's not like you hallucinate or have any issues that could come up without sleeping for 24 hours. And frankly, I don't think any clowns are dumb enough to try this one. But so guys, what are your big questions? What do you want to know? other than why?
Well, you made a good point. We really did decide within 2 weeks to do something like this. I made a post on a dad's page I'm on asking for any advice or things like that. And someone said, well, surely you've been training long enough that you understand all this. I'm like, yeah, no, we're doing it in 2 weeks. But reality is, as you know, Jason, I've been working out for the past 450 some odd days. I haven't missed a day. And this year I've run at least a couple miles a day every day. So I feel a baseline condition is in pretty good shape. And Eliud is similar. Eliud and I have run some adventure races together, and most recently did the Cowtown Half a couple of months ago. So I feel like we've got a good baseline. I've never done anything longer than 5 hours though. I've done adventure races. I've done some marathons, never done an ultra, and certainly have never done an overnight thing. So I would love any advice that you have for, pushing past the mental blockades that are bound to show up. And then the things for, I don't know what to even eat for a 24-hour period when I'm walking and exercising the entire time. So for nutrition, hydration, what are the Band-Aids, Vaseline, the little things I might want to have with me to go through this process?
Okay. Can you, before we answer, can you do me one favor and remind me and anybody else watching how are you going to do this? Where are you going to be?
Yep. And
do you have a base of operations, or how are you doing it?
Yep, great. We've got Eliud. It's a trail that Eliud runs on all the time. So tell us about that, Eliud.
Yeah, I live in Coppell, Texas, and there is a trail around here. It's called Campion Trails. And I've done several marathons in the past, and I used to run that trail. And then also from here to Grapevine. So what I did is I mapped out what it would be about 72 miles, 2 loops of that would be 36 miles each. And there will be a place in the middle where we're going to have a vehicle with coolers and all that, for fuel, nutrition, whatever we need, including changing some clothing, because it's going to be hot sometime. It's going to get a little bit cool later on, maybe shoes, maybe whatever we need. So we're going to have a station in which we're going to go. We're going to walk from 8 a.m. Campion Trails, come back. It's going to be 23 miles. I think we're going to be back around, and I'm calculating about 20 minutes per mile. So that would be somewhere around 3:30. And then refuel, redo everything, and then go in the other direction for another 4.5 hours or so, and come back at 8 p.m. to that point, and then repeat again through the middle of the night.
So that equals 36. That equals 36 hours, basically one loop, a loop of 23, and then one of 13, and then you're back to the start.
I'm sorry, it is miles. So one loop is 36 miles.
Okay, sorry, that's what I meant. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So one loop is 36 miles, and we will stop at it. Basically take off from the middle of it, come back to it, and come back to it again.
Okay.
Well, I think Charlie's much more experienced at this than me. I think a couple of things you have thought through well are, one, not doing it alone, because doing this alone would be mentally much harder. So here's the thing. This is not going to be a physical battle for either of you. Anybody, believe it or not, could pull off most anybody could pull off moving for 24 hours. They could do it. What's going to happen is when your mind starts screwing with you in a serious way. So having somebody with you is important. I think I would make sure to take a phone and a credit card with, and try to plot out where things like convenience stores are and what hours they're open, so you can maybe go a little lighter. Don't forget there's limited hours right now with the lockdown. And I would keep in mind that what you're going to eat, what you're going to want to eat, is going to change throughout the day. Like when it's really hot, you don't want to eat the same thing as other times a day, and it's specific. As far as protecting your feet and your Vaseline and all that, dude, guys, you're 1 week out. You're just SOL. If your feet aren't ready, your feet aren't ready. And I would not screw with the socks you use. I would not screw with the shorts you wear, the shoes you wear. You may want to bring up spare pair that you leave in the car of everything in case it gets soaking rain or you sweat a ton, but I would not do anything to mess with your feet. That's my thoughts, my initial thoughts. Charlie, what do you think? So nutrition, clothing, general thoughts, finger gestures.
Yeah, no, those are all great tips that you gave, Jason, and I think you're right. I think first of all, let me ask one more question too before I answer. To Jason's point, you're going to have this car in the middle. Do you guys plan on carrying much more than some fluids to drink and a few things to eat along the way? Is there something else heavy you're going to be carrying?
Sorry, Ken. I got a backpack and we have a bladder, so we're gonna probably have some enough water for the first part of the day, which is kind of hot, and then we're just gonna bring, I think, some snacks, some protein, maybe something refreshing, and so seeds and bars and maybe some salts, goo, or some kind of something to replenish what we could be losing during the the hot weather. But the intent is to basically eat well before we leave, and then when we come back, probably pick up maybe I was thinking to have some steak chopped into small pieces, little squares, cold meat kind of deal, and just eat stuff that couldn't be upsetting for my stomach, and then just repeat. And for nighttime, have some cold brew coffee, to carry with us, and other than that, just Gatorade, water kind of deal.
So I have a couple of suggestions that really come to mind. 20-minute miles for walking is it's very conservative. I think that's a good target, because looking at you two guys and knowing what you do, I mean, you should be able to even comfortably do, even with a 10-pound pack on, you should be able to comfortably do 17 to 18-minute miles. So you've got a little buffer there. You're going to stop and do push-ups. You're going to be stopping to pee once in a while. Whatever. It's way more important, in my view, that you just keep steady movement. Try not to have any big gaps where you're really, if you have a foot problem or you have something you really need to deal with, of course, it's important to stop early. If you feel a hot spot or you've got something going on, don't keep plowing through, because it's only going to get worse. Take 5 minutes and sit down and take a look at what's going on, like bring an extra pair of socks. Personally, I always take like a pair of Injinji socks. I don't actually wear Injinji normally, but they're the toe socks. You know what I mean? And like if you're getting a blister on a toe, like I can switch over to Injinji and it changes the pattern, and it'll stop something from rubbing. So having a couple of smart choices of something to take off. Some of the old tricks, like putting a Band-Aid over your nipples, because there's really nothing worse than sweating your ass off, having a pack on, and 15 miles into this thing, you want to shoot yourself because you're rubbed raw. So think about, between the two of you, maybe take and I'm sorry to put it this way, between the two of you, take some lube and, and insert your own joke. But, it's important, because whether it's for feet or a spot that starts rubbing or whatever, just have you don't need a lot, and you don't need two of them. You just need one that you can share. Electrolyte pills of some type, you should be on a regular schedule. If there's any that you use, like, I use Hammer products a lot of times. So, just something, even they can be plain old salt pills from, CVS pharmacy. You don't have to get fancy. People very often do too much. If there is a quick mart, especially on that first 23-mile loop when it's going to be hot, if you're going to run, hit a place that you can go into during the day, then obviously, you know, fill up your water bladders. You're going to go through way more than one bladder. I would anyway on a 23-mile hike.
You need not just you want to. You guys really need to avoid problems.
Totally. And I would also say this. So here's my, you know, one of my biggest tips that I always give people for bad water. You can't arrive in Death Valley and start hydrating like the day you get there. Like, you guys need to start your hydration plan today. So you need to make hydration a priority and have a bottle with you for the next 2 weeks and just continue to, you know, you don't have to pound water. You just need to be drinking a regular amount where you're peeing on a normal basis, because your body can't suddenly get out there when it, especially if it gets really hot or whatever. You can't magically teach your body to absorb more fluids in one day. Like, it doesn't work that way. You begin now to teach your body today that it needs to absorb more of this and have you prepared for, you know, for your run, for your hike. Obviously a good hat, a good neckerchief, you know, sunscreen, all the basics. But I think the final thing that I would say right now, I wrote an article for Runner's World years ago. I did the Barkley marathons in Tennessee 1 year. And pardon?
Did you finish Barkley's?
No, I did not. And that's actually it's kind of the story. So I wrote a feature for Runner's World about my experience. And I'm actually proud to say it was voted one of the best 50 features of all time in Runner's World magazine. So if you look up my name and Barkley, the article will come up. But what I talk about in there, I did a bunch of interviews with other runners that were there. And there was one guy named JB Basham. And I knew he was really good. He had held a couple of records on, like, one time he'd had actually the Appalachian Trail record years back. And like, so this guy really, he was the real deal. He was the only person that gave me a good answer when I said, why are you here? Because Barkley is all about failure. Pretty much everybody's going to fail. So why are you here? He said,
more people have landed on the moon than have finished Barkley, guys, just in case you're wondering.
Exactly. And his answer has always stuck with me, because he looked me in the eye and he said, I'm here to do 5 loops. And the point was, he was the only one singularly focused on 5 loops. And everybody else said, like, including me, politically correct kind of things like, well, you know, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try to get through the first couple of loops and then see how I feel, and all this kind of nonsense. Me included, because I'm already hedging my bets, because I'm afraid of what I'm getting ready to take on. He was ready. He'd been there before. He's like, I'm here to do 5 loops. And he's the only finisher from that year. That was 2009. And so, you know, and this was back when it was very obscure. The article I did for Runner's World really kind of, I'm not saying it launched Barkley by any means, but it made it a little more mainstream, for better or for worse. And my point to you guys, though, is that, you know, the mentality that this is 24 hours, no matter what, and you break it up into mental segments. You know, you got your first 23-mile segment, and then you got your second, if I'm calculating right, 13-mile segment. Then you're back to the car again, and 23, and you just don't worry about the whole thing. Just worry about the segment that you're in.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to shut up for a minute.
No, I think that was great, and we'll have to have a follow-up on Barkley. My friend Marcy Beard's gone at it twice, and she's hoping for the fun.
I know Marcy.
Oh yeah, she's my adventure racing teammate. She's one of my closest friends.
Well, what's funny about what you just said is, right, and I'm not giving Marcy a hard time. I mean, no woman has ever finished, but it is interesting that, like, because again, the guys who have finished, if you talk to them, the only singular goal that they have is 5 loops. If they come up short, they come up short, but they're not like, even Marcy, I would even say to her, is amazing. I mean, she's such a phenomenal runner, and I've followed her career, and you know, she's also really nice. I don't know her, but a nice person as far as I can tell. You know, she herself, when it comes to Barkley, she needs to go there to do 5 loops. It doesn't mean she's going to do 5 loops, but like that needs to be the only thing that's in her head as far as I can tell.
Yeah, guys. So to give you an idea so Marcy decided for fun to do an FKT and run from the Alamo in San Antonio to the Capitol in Austin, running along the highway frontage. You just have to have this mindset that's, you know what, punishment sounds like a really good, fun idea. There are parts of that you should just not be on, period, let alone run along in the middle of the night. So, you know, one thing you guys should, and really, Charlie's brought up some good points, and this is actually applicable to where we are in the world today. From a mindset perspective, you have to have the mindset that there's a lot of problems going on, and I'm going to plow forward. And for what I do know, as soon as I recognize I have a problem, I have to address it. Just like Charlie. So when either you guys have a single blister or your knee hurts, or it might be something as simple as your pack is rubbing on your shoulder and you're sweating like crazy, you have to fix that before it becomes a real problem, because by the time it's a real problem, you're cooked. So I mean, you're done. If you're ripped through and bleeding and it's 6 hours, so you have to talk to each other. But I think equally important is what I'm going to refer to as your aid station. And I'm really curious on Charlie's thoughts. But so in the evening, you may want something like ramen noodles, a lot of sugar, a lot of carbs. So I wouldn't make it excessively hot, but I'd keep it warm. I would also have maybe a cooler with orange slices, watermelon slices that are very cold. For me, I try easily digestible things in small bites. So I'll have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches cut up. Food that tends to be a mistake, like I forget the name of the aid. I think it's mile 73 of the Vermont 100. They've got this aid station, whatever I don't know the mile, but they have an aid station called Margaritaville. And it was in the middle of the day. It was hot as hell. And I was like, man, does that hot dog look and smell delicious? Okay. A hot dog on a hot day when you're going 100 miles, there is nothing good can come of that. Nothing good is going to. So think foods that you can easily tolerate. Some people actually cold cheese pizza does well with. I would avoid heavily greasy things. And the food that you're carrying with you, be able to open it fast, be able to chew on the move. Don't stop while you're eating. Small little bites. And things that don't get disgusting when it's excessively warm. So for example, if you take Gorp and it's full of chocolate mixed in and it's 95 degrees, you have a liquid chocolate pie. And when you're hungry enough, you're just going to be like licking it and trying to figure it out. It goes without saying, drinking alcohol is probably stupid on the stupid scale. That'd be up there. But use that vehicle, and then maybe, if you know you're going to be finishing in the heat of the day, have some wet towels in an ice chest that you can take out, wring off the towel, cool yourself down, maybe wipe yourself down. But on the flip side, have somebody in there who is your just drill sergeant in that transition area. You do not want to stay there long. You could have some folding chairs, but set a timer, get in and get out. The longer you're in there, stop, the worse you are. Boiled potatoes, a little thing to dip salt on the potatoes, small potatoes, the little mini ones. That's what I would do. I'd have some kind of blister kit, both that you carry with you as well as in TA. So we could share some stuff, but I would think of that. And talk to each other the whole time. You're going to need it, frankly, especially as you get around the late hours. I've hallucinated everything from, there was an aid station and I knew it was nights and I knew they had a fire. So around every corner I was like, ooh, there it is. Ooh, and Marcy was my teammate. And like after the 6th time, Charlie, she was like, will you shut up? So you're going to start seeing, when you hallucinate, the things you really want to see. And if you're 1 hour in and you think you see your car, probably best not to walk up to that car. It's not your car. So, Charlie, what do you think?
Yeah. No, I think the other, you bring up another good point about, because with adventure racing, you guys are going into this together, and one of the greatest and most humbling aspects of adventure racing is the mission is to get the whole team to the finish line together. And so if somebody needs to carry my pack for a while, if one of you is really struggling and one of you feels good, don't have a big ego, tell the other guy, hey, because the mission is to keep moving. Hey, can you carry or offer the other person, let me carry your pack for the next 30 minutes. And you just take a break and get that weight off your shoulders for a minute. And so just thinking in that sort of a way, because I do a lot of mental math because it's just my nature. So in my mind, from a goal setting standpoint, you guys have a chance to do 2 of these 36-mile loops in 24 hours, but you're going to have to hustle. At 3 miles an hour, 3 times 24 is 72. And so you're 72 miles at a 20-minute pace. That's if you don't ever stop, which of course you're going to stop. So again, you guys are going to get out on that last loop, that last little 13-mile thing, and you're going to kind of be in no man's land. I mean, I understand you're going for 24 hours, and if it takes you 25 hours to get back to the car, you're obviously going to keep going and you're going to finish. But it's nice to have that carrot out there, knowing that if you can stay smart, again, it was, as Jason already said, don't spend a lot of time at your aid station. Comfort is dangerous and overrated. And the longer you spend there, you guys will end up there for 30 minutes before you blink an eye. And I even suggest that as you get within the last mile before you get back to the car, talk to each other and make a specific plan about what you're going to do. What you're going to do first, what you're going to do second, what you're going to do third. I'm going to go in. The first thing I'm going to do is grab a sandwich, cram it in my face. I've got a little blister I want to deal with. So I'm going to get my shoe off and I'm going to change socks. Whatever your plan is, discuss it with each other for a second so that because it's also very frustrating to have a teammate, quite frankly, that I've been this teammate and I've had teammates like this when everyone else is ready and you're standing there tapping your toe, like, come on, let's go. It's a very frustrating thing. So Jason, I should be quiet for a second. You guys got questions about anything specific?
You've covered a lot of ground. I appreciate it. From watching Running the Sahara, I recognize seeing some of that with the teammates.
Yeah, just yell at him. That works every time.
No, I think you've given us some incredible advice and information. I feel very confident in the success of this endeavor with both of us, and I'm grateful to both of you for your advice. And frankly, I'm grateful to call both of you my friends. I really am. So it's awesome.
Thank you, man. So I want to cover a couple things. First of all, some of the comments are from my friend TJ Graves, who just did her first 100. And one of the things she brought up which is a really good idea, if you're going to have somebody in that van, text them in advance to let them know you're coming. They might be asleep, or they may want to warm some things up. So thanks for that, CJ. And I literally, guys, you should say, try a hand signal. Okay, guys, I'm ready. And give a thumbs up, which is not annoying, but you have to keep it moving, and you really have to be committed to each other. And this is a mind battle that you're going to face, especially when it's really, really hot, or there's other factors that you just cannot control, that, it's blazing hot. You've both run out of water, and it's 10 more miles until you can get to a convenience store or your car. Those are going to be awful 10 miles. You should expect that's going to happen. Right.
Yeah.
And, hopefully the first thing you do when you get into TA is you slug down water. I want to emphasize something I forgot that Charlie mentioned, which is about hydrating. Your pee needs to be blunt. Your pee needs to be clear from here until hopefully you're done. So when you're peeing, if it's yellow, you're not drinking enough water. But you also need to add, you could take some of the supplements, like a Noon is what I like. On the caffeine, be careful with that in the night, because that can, when you've been going that long, caffeine can screw with your gut pretty hard, especially if you overdo it. I think it was the first year I did rim to rim to rim, I took noon tablets, and the only ones I took with me, foolishly, were the caffeinated ones. And I put like 3 of them in my bladder, and it almost, that one little thing almost ended my run from all the way back from the North Rim, because I chugged it and then started running downhill. And so my gut's taking all this caffeine and this liquid. So balance. Don't do a bunch of coffee and caffeine in the middle of the night if you normally don't do a bunch of caffeine. Keep each other awake. Smack each other around. That's what Charlie would suggest.
That's right. And call and phone a friend. You know, I mean, honestly, you're welcome to call me. I'm sure Jason would take, you know, I mean, it's sort of fun in the middle of it to just call and chat with people. Will you guys actually have a support person at all?
I believe so. My wife is going to be helping us. Probably a couple other friends are going to be visiting with us. A really good friend I work out with, he cannot do this because of, he found out some health reasons he cannot, but he's going to walk a few hours with us.
Right.
And so there might be some people who bring in some new conversations and distractions and that kind of stuff, and they're fresh. You might not, but then you kind of get, feed from that. The part of the Unbreakable Challenge is that you're not supposed to stop for more than 10 minutes. So that's gonna also kind of help out a little bit to not, get killed. But the other thing that I wanted to ask you is the mental part. I mean, I've, researched a little bit. Some guys who had done it, obviously they address the mental part of it. What do you say to yourself when you're out there hallucinating and your friend, slaps you in the head and say, hey, wake up, but more yourself? When you hit the wall, when you think about dropping, everything, and then what keeps you going?
Yeah, well, first of all, physically, there's no doubt, I already know you guys, clearly you can do this. And so I would encourage you to think about it this way. The whole point of doing this, strange as it sounds, you actually want to hit the wall. You want to, because that's the part that you're going to remember. There's going to be a moment where you actually begin to doubt yourself and you wonder if you can go on. That's why I do these. That's the exact reason that I do these things, is because I want to get to that spot and then find a way to keep going. And usually, like you guys, this is a mental exercise, much more than a physical one. But if you don't, just like your car, if you don't keep gas in it, then you can't keep driving. So most of the time when you feel the worst, it's going to be about hydration and nutrition. So when you're feeling your worst, even if you don't feel like eating, you need to force yourself to eat. Whatever you've got, try to have a variety of things to eat, especially if the car, have real food. Like I like plain things, like I'll have boiled potatoes with some salt. I'm a plant-based person. I don't eat meat, so meat would cause me a lot of problems, but, eat what you're accustomed to. Quesadillas, again, I use fake cheese, but, like if you like quesadillas, have some real food. And then when you're out hiking, you're probably going to eat bars and that kind of thing. But the point is, remind yourself that the reason I feel badly is not because of my mind. It's because my body is telling me that I need to give it something. I need to fuel my mind. And I also you should have a mantra, whatever you guys have, for picking each other up, whoever your hero is for inspirational sayings. What I say all the time, I have a mantra. It's right here, actually, and it's no big deal. And the reason I say no big deal is because, my wife had cancer, and that was her saying. Like in the worst moments that she ever had, she would say to herself, no big deal. And it's a good reminder for me emotionally that when I go run 100 miles, nobody's forcing me to do that. Like, it's not life or death. I'm choosing to do it. And the bad moments, because hopefully you're going to have some bad moments. I mean, it sounds weird to say, but I hope you reach a point out there where it's really, really hard, because that's why you're doing it. And you share that struggle with other people. If you get on social media, nobody wants to see you make it look easy. Everybody wants to see you, throw up on your shoes. And maybe not really, but I mean, that's the point. And so mentally,
really.
it's, yeah, seriously. And reminding yourself that this is why I'm here. And I think you guys have a great attitude, and I think you're confident, but you should, you're not overconfident, and you just have to lift each other up sometimes. But normally it's going to be hydration and nutrition. If you can do that, you'll always feel better.
So guys, I've got 3 points for you. So the first one is, can you each name for me somebody that, I mean, you just love to infinity? Who's that person who it's like you would do anything for? Ken, who's that for you?
My children, my wife and children.
Eliud, you're on mute. You're on mute, man. Hold on. Unmute yourself.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same thing. My wife and my children, they're everything for me. So
okay.
I'm going to carry pictures of my kids, and I'm going to look at them, and, I'm just going to drag, fuel from that, because it's, they're everything for me.
Yeah. And I'll be quick, Charlie, that's a big reason why I jumped at this, because I want to be an example for my children and my wife, and show that we can push well beyond these crazy barriers that we see in our lives. And I want to reach those barriers. I want to reach that place and break through it, and get through exactly what you're talking about, Charlie. Find that really difficult place and find my way through it to get to the other side. Because all the endeavors that have meant so much to me, they've all come with a big sacrifice and struggle. And it's getting through that struggle that has meant the world.
So that's exactly my point. And if you think, so that's one. So when you're down in the dumps, think, you know what? If my family was depending on me to do this, I wouldn't go over the mountain. I'd go through the mountain if I had to. There's nothing that would stop me. So you want something that's just so meaningful and impactful. Remember at that moment. And don't be surprised. I mean, a lot of times when I'm totally bonked, I'll cry. You get emotional, go all over the spectrum. The second thing is why don't I want to quit? The other reason, I'm not letting my teammate down. I am not going to be the reason that we don't finish, period. You guys need to be that for each other, right? And like Charlie was saying earlier, the third one is in adventure racing, as in so many things in life, you getting across the finish line is irrelevant. The only thing that's relevant is the team getting across. So help each other. If you see Ken hurting, take the pack off. Ask him a question. And Ken, you have to be honest, and vice versa. So lastly, a lot of people ask me, why would you go 7 days nonstop? That's so stupid. Because at the finish line, like Charlie was saying, we could have the next 5 COVID crises in the world. When you're done, it feels like God is beaming sunshine straight into your brain. And you're just basking. No one, no matter what, will ever take away that glorious feeling and accomplishment from you like nothing else, like no one else has ever given you. And remember, that's at the finish for you. Your family, each other as teammates, don't let the other one down, and help each other. And man, it's glory at the end. Pure bliss.
That's great
stuff. Yeah, well said.
So, hey, one more. What other questions do you guys have for us? Because we've taken a lot of Charlie's time and y'all's, and what else can we answer for you?
I'm good. You guys have given an amazing amount of insight, and I'm thank you for it.
Charlie, if people want to follow you or watch you, and after Charlie answers this, Ken, I want to go back to you. I want to know if you'll consider doing this for a charity and raising money for something. as a charitable event. So keep that in mind. I'm going to come right back to you. Charlie, how can people keep an eye and learn about what you're doing?
You know, the simplest thing for me is just my website, which is just charlieengel.com, and it's CharlieEngle, actually.
Oh,
so
sorry, Charlie.
.com, and that's okay. And all my, you know what? Luckily, there's not a lot of me out there, so either way you spell it, it'll come up. But and all my social media handles are just my name. So whichever platform somebody follows, they can annoyingly find me there. I will say on Instagram, I do some fun things. I do a weekly Charlie's Books on the Run. I do a book review every week because I do a lot of, and I always do all my videos while I'm running. I have a really great little camera that I use, so it's nice and steady. And I do a Q&A every week also, so people can send in questions, and I'll answer your questions while I'm out running. And you know, I try to have a good time with it, and I'm 27 years clean and sober, so that's a big part of my story. So I get a lot of, thank you, I get a lot of folks that, you know, reach out who are clean and sober themselves, or they want to be, or they've got a family member that's struggling. And, you know, all of us on this call right now, we either are an addict or we know somebody who is. And so I really like to hear from folks that have questions about addiction and recovery, plant-based eating, or running, you know, and adventure. So bring it on.
Wonderful. So Ken, I want to hear about your charity. And then Charlie, I'm going to go back to you one more time, because the last question I'd like you to think about when I ask Ken is, for all the people in the world that are watching or may watch this, what's a lesson you could give them to say, you know what, stay the course. We're going to get through this crisis. So I want to come back to you after Ken of what are, you know, some final closing thoughts from you. Ken and Eliud, what's a charity you think you might be willing to raise some money for to promote for this 24-hour challenge you're doing?
Yeah, you mentioned this earlier when we were on the phone together. I think it's a great idea. I am a huge supporter of my good friend Rodney DeBond's charity, the David Nicholas Organ Donor Awareness Foundation. Rodney is one of the longest surviving heart transplant patients in the world. He is just generous beyond all means, and the things he does for the families that are waiting for these organ transplants in DFW is amazing. So I will put it out there and raise funds for anyone that cares to donate. I'll put up a Facebook page for Rodney's charity.
I am doing the same thing. I'm going to team up with my buddy here, Ken, and we're going to do the best we can to raise more for that charity.
Thanks, guys. That's wonderful. Charlie, we're going to end it with you. Any last comments that you want to share with the world out there of, you know, we're in crisis. You're one of the best on the planet for sticking to it and getting through adversity. Give us your thoughts, man.
Hang on one quick second. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. In this world right now where people actually deliver things to our house, it's important to say thank you. So, yeah, so ask me one more time.
So you're one of the best on the planet of overcoming obstacles, dealing with adversity, and pressing on. And as a country, that's clearly where we are right now.
Yeah.
What's your advice to the general public of maybe some mindset or just your general thoughts?
Yeah. I you know what, and I have to say it's strange. Addiction recovery prepared me very well for this moment in time, because I've been living a, you know, kind of a one day at a time life for a very long time. Because for me as a recovering addict, I went through a lot of times where I really just had to focus on what was right in front of me. As a runner, I use this mantra all the time, where I always say, you know, the only miles I can run are the ones that I'm literally running right now. I can't run tomorrow's miles. I can't run next week's miles. I can't do those until I actually get there. So focusing on what's right in front of us, getting through the hard moments. I'll even tell one really short story. When I ran across the Sahara Desert years ago, I had two teammates, and it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. You know, we had more than our share of arguments while we were out there. And there was a border crossing from Niger into Libya, and the Libyans were not going to, they had not said yes. They had basically not given us an answer. So we reached this one place in Niger where we still had 300 miles to go, but it was 300 miles of open desert in order to get to the border of Libya, and there was no guarantee that they were going to let us in. And my two teammates, quite frankly, wanted to quit, you know, and I don't blame them. This had been a really hard undertaking. And, you know, I basically threw a tantrum and I said, look, you know, you guys can quit if you want to, but I'm taking like that camel and this box of Snickers bars and I'm going to the border, because if I get turned away at the border, I can live with that. I can go the rest of my life knowing that I went as far as I could possibly go, and I would never have a regret about that. If I quit and anticipated the worst, basically, anticipated that I wasn't going to be able to do this thing and just made the decision to pull myself off the course, I would have wondered the rest of my life, what if? And so the best advice I think I have for everybody out there, not really an advice giver, but is, you know, don't get caught up in letting yourself hit a point where you wonder what if. Just keep focusing on the miles that are right in front of you, metaphorically or literally, and keep going, you know, and don't let a bad moment turn it into a bad day, because those bad moments do pass.
And Charlie, thank you for gifting us with your time. It was a true treasure. Ken's spoken highly of you, and what an honor. We'll have to do something with Marcy and get her online. Guys, I have confidence you're going to knock it out of the park. Mindset, and prepare in advance. You know, talk with your transition manager. Let us know. Reach out to us. You're going to kill it. Post online here. Everybody who's watching, look up Charlie. Look all these guys up, and I'll post some links on Facebook. Have a great weekend, everyone. Guys, thank you so much for joining. Have a wonderful weekend. Good luck,
Thank
gents.
you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take care, you guys.